Hello all, it's James Johnson, aka Sulfur Blade, and I am here to talk about the wonderful and talented Bill Maher. So I want to get one thing straight. I watch him from time to time, and I think he's rather amusing. I certainly don't agree with him politically, but that's okay. We can disagree in this country, or at least we used to be able to disagree in this country. At some point, tribalism has taken hold, and everyone is so partisan and fixated in their camps that there's no ways not to disagree. Now, Bill Maher has been slammed for basically saying that because Amy Coney Barrett is a Catholic, that she's evidently nuts, because if you're Catholic, you're obviously nuts. And how much of this is Bill Maher just being his typical sort of funny self? Let's take a look at what he said.
Roberts, Thomas, Alito, Kavanaugh, Sotomayor, and Gorsuch, who I count as Catholic because he was raised Catholic and is now Episcopalian, which is just a Catholic who flunked Latin. And once Mitch McConnell and company are done FedExing Amy Coney Barrett to the bench, 7 of the 9 justices will be Catholic. And look, I have nothing against Catholics except my entire upbringing. But they are only 20% of the population. If 7 out of 9 justices were Jews or Muslims or Buddhists, would that be okay? And if faith is this super important element of life, as Barrett and her Republican supporters say it is, shouldn't we have a healthier balance on our highest court? The fastest growing denomination in America is nuns. No, not that kind. I'm talking about atheists, agnostics, and people who, when asked what their religion is, say none.
Alright, so to an extent, I, in a way, identify as none. However, I also identify as Christian. Sometimes, if pressed, if somebody's like, well, what branch of Christian are you? I might say Lutheran or Methodist, depending on what I'm feeling that day. Because, you know, like many other Americans, I had an interesting upbringing where, you know, when I was with my grandparents, we went to a Methodist church. You know, every Christmas I went to a Methodist church. There was time periods. I was actually baptized Lutheran, though. I received First Communion Lutheran. I went to Sunday school at a Lutheran church. Basically, this was on my dad's side of the family. It was where I got, you know, dragged into the Lutheran church from time to time. However, me, myself, I never really got to choose my religious nomination. It just kind of was whatever my parents and or grandparents dragged me into, which it never was that big of a deal, because church is what church is. You know, it's not this evil cult that some of us might make it out to be. So when Bill Maher says that the largest growing group is none, well, in a way, I identify with that group. Yeah, I feel I'm probably close to the none group, because nobody asked me what group I wanted to be in, right? And if I really wanted to ask myself if I'm for real, do I really believe in the big guy in the sky? And I wanted to be true to myself, I would say sorta. It's a nice idea, right? That there's somebody big and up there looking after you, and you know, if he is there and he is looking after me, I'm sure he will know that I lived a fairly decent life, and that he'll understand my cynicism He'll understand my my doubt, and he won't hold those things against me. If he's the all-knowing, all-seeing thing, then I think he'll certainly understand where I am with my life. However, with that being said, I love my grandparents. I love my father. You know, these people that dragged me into these places of religious worship, and in a way, it felt forced upon me. But at the same time, it wasn't like I was being indoctrinated in a cult. You know, and of course, you know, I was, and that's not to say I haven't been to Catholic church either. I have been to Catholic church. So when I was really young, my dad's side of the family was staunch Catholic, and at some point, as dad got older and kind of separated himself from my grandfather. So Catholic would have been my grandfather's faith. Once Dad kind of took on his own way, he went more of a Protestant way into the Lutheran. And of course, my grandparents were very, very much Methodist. And so Lutheran and Methodist, being Protestant churches, are certainly a little more lax, little easier places to be than, say, the Catholic Church, which is certainly a bit more staunch, a bit more I don't know, formal. But all in all, I think having grown up the way I did, having had the opportunities to see the various religions, whether I wanted to or not, I don't feel it was a bad thing. And so when I see silliness like what Bill Maher is doing, I can laugh. I can laugh with them. I understand the humor that he's trying to convey here, but at the same time, he's spinning a political message, and I'm not so sure that I agree with that political message, because in the United States we are very I'm not going to say we are a very religious country. I'm saying we are a country that has been founded on religious ideals, and that religious ideal being the freedom to practice whatever religion we see fit. That's kind of one of the founding principles of the United States, is that if you're, black, green, orange, yellow, or pink, as far as religion goes, you're free to practice that religion, right? Because you're in the United States, where we don't discriminate against your religion. And so Bill Maher, I think, is being a bit disingenuous. Sure, there is a odd number of Catholics on the Supreme Court, but whose fault is that, really? I mean, let's take a look. Whose fault is it that we have an odd number of Catholics on the Supreme Court? John Roberts is a Catholic. That would be the fault of George Walker Bush. He nominated John Roberts to the bench. Clarence Thomas is evidently a Catholic. He was nominated by George Herbert Walker Bush. Coincidental? Did they get together on that? Is G.W. Bush and George Herbert Walker Bush, are they Catholics, and so they therefore wanted a Catholic to be on the bench? Is that what's going on here? There's a big Catholic conspiracy of Catholic presidents putting Catholic jurists onto the Supreme Court? No, No, that's not what's happening here. So let's see who else. Clinton put a Jew on the Supreme Court. Okay. Samuel Alito was G.W. Bush. So G.W. Bush has put 2 Catholics on here, and his father put 1 Catholic. Obama put a Catholic on. Oh my God, was Obama nuts? How could he put a Catholic into the Supreme Court? What's going on? My world has just been turned upside down. I thought Catholic was bad in the Democratic world. How did a Democratic president put a Catholic on the Supreme Court? What's going on? Ellen Kagan is a Jew. All right. Obama put a Jew on. Okay, so Obama and Clinton both put probably more Jews onto the court than they put Catholics. How dare they put all these Jews? No, I'm kidding. I don't care, right? I really don't. Neil Gorsuch, Episcopalian, raised Roman Catholic. Trump put an Episcopalian on. Huh. And Brett Kavanaugh is evidently a Catholic put on by Trump. And then, of course, ACB is evidently a Catholic being put on by Trump. So Trump will put on 2 Catholics and 1 Episcopalian, kind of similar to G.W. Bush putting on 2 Catholics. But now, is this a conspiracy? Let's find out. What are the face of the actual presidents? Hey, here's George H.W. Bush. Old man Bush was an Episcopalian. Why'd he put a Catholic on if he was Episcopalian? What's up with that? What's going on? I don't understand. Oh, here, Trump is a Presbyterian. Why is he putting on Catholics if he's a Presbyterian? I mean, W. Bush, he's a Methodist. What? But he put on 2 Catholics. Obama's a Christian, but he put on a Catholic and a Jew. I mean, it's silliness is what it is. Sure, I understand that it seems a bit odd that there's this large number of Catholics on the bench. Certainly, I can equate to that. It does seem odd that there are that many Catholics when we've only had 1 recognized Catholic president, and that would have been Kennedy, right? But that's just how it is. It's just how it's ended up. I don't think there's any special conspiracy. I think maybe it has far more to do with actual demographics. So when we look at things, we see, well, where did these people go to school? I think that has a lot more to do with what's going on. And so, this guy went to law school at Harvard, and this guy went to law school at Yale, and this guy went to law school at Harvard, and these guys went to yard school at Yale, and they went to law school at Harvard, and they went to law school at Yale. So pretty much every single Supreme Court justice we have here has either been to Harvard or Yale. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Could it be that there are more Catholics who end up going to Harvard and Yale? Is that something that Harvard and Yale has created a bias on? I don't know, right? But I find it far more concerning that only 2 schools are represented on the Supreme Court. Oh my God, what's up with that? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 from Harvard, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 from Yale. I think we're onto a conspiracy here. Harvard and Yale are stacking the Supreme Court. So I can make the same stupid monologue that Bill Maher did from just a completely different point of view. So honestly, here's the graphical timeline for Jewish justices. There's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Jewish justices, and 3 of them here recently. Do does the United States have a huge population of Jewish people? I mean, would our demographic population be representative to the number of justices that were represented in the Supreme Court compared to the demographic of Jews that actually are in the United States? Is this an anomaly? Did more Jewish justices make it to the Supreme Court than is representative of the Jewish community's slice of the pie in the United States? Probably. But what does it matter? Why did that happen? It's an anomaly. Those people worked hard to get to where they got. It's really that simple. Just like these Catholic justices have evidently worked hard to get to where they got. It's not like I would call that there was something shady going on if these presidents were Catholic themselves and they were electing other Catholic jurors, but they're not. The presidents that are put the Catholics onto the bench are not Catholics in and of themselves. So they're probably picking people off of the best people for the job, and the best people for the job at this point in time happen to be Catholics. Not sure why that would be. I would assume that judges are very, how do I put it? Justices probably have a very stringent way of organizing their lives and their lifestyles. And going into law and then becoming a judge, you're probably a certain type of person, right? And from my short period of time having gone to a Catholic church long ago, I remembered the Catholic Church being a very, very stringent type place. So where I'm going with this is perhaps maybe their faith is inflected into their personality. So having grown up a Catholic, you have a certain type of personality that's more conducive to then becoming a judge. You see where I'm going here? But then again, that's just me trying to make excuses for why this has happened. But really, there is no reason to fixate on why this has happened, because anyone who fixates on statistical anomalies is just a person who's trying to create a result. There's people that fixate on statistics so that they can then paint a narrative around the statistics. And that's basically what's happened here. A narrative has been painted around these statistics. Does the narrative have any actual credence to it? No. But, oh my God, the court is packed with Catholics. This is horrible. But I digress. So yeah, Bill Maher, he's a smart guy. He's funny. I'll give him that. Let's watch a little bit more of what he has to say before we end this one.
Thanks. We are 26% of the country, not anyone here, but of the country. Where's our voice on the Supreme Court? An atheist, thank you. It's all right. I know they're out there. I know where you are, my people. Mwah. Fuck them. We're just us. And atheists actually make better judges because we don't have to work to separate church and state. We're not torn between rational decision-making and what it says in the old book of Jewish fairy tales. In 2006, Barrett told a graduating class of law students...
You know, I don't think that's a very fair statement. I think that some amongst the nun group can be rather anti-religious, who look at religion as being a bunch of loony people who are wrapped up in their silly religious beliefs. They have an almost negative viewpoint on religion. So to sit there and claim that the nun group is the best group for the job because they're the most impartial, well, that's smoke and mirrors, right? That's just duplicitous rationality. It's making up an argument that fits the narrative you want, but it actually doesn't fit the narrative, because people can have various different viewpoints no matter what religion they have. You know, I probably would be far more open to ACB, for instance, to be my judge than Bill Maher is, obviously. And that's not because I'm a conservative-leaning individual in this case, or because he's a liberal-leaning individual in his case. So if you just take it down to which of us, personality-wise, between Bill Maher and myself, doesn't make fun of religious people. I don't make fun of religious people. I don't see a need to. Well, that's not to say I've never made. I've made fun of the the ones that come to your door. Not the Mormons, though they're similar. No. I forget their denomination, but they're the ones that try to give you the Bible, come to your door, and then next week they come to your door, and 2 months later they come to your door. They just don't quit. It's like, oh my God, would you go away? You know, da 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 da. But I don't make fun of them because they are that religion. I make fun of them because of what they've done to put themselves into a negative spotlight in my eyes. So they've attempted to push their religion down people's throats. And I don't appreciate that in any religion. I don't think any religion should forcefully force itself upon anyone. I don't believe in this missionary stuff unless, the missionaries have been asked. I want to learn about your religion. Well, then that's great. Then the door is open. But if you don't ask, I don't want it to be forced down my throat. I've never once heard Amy Coney Barrett force the Catholic ideals upon me. Never. I don't even know her. But I really doubt she's this type of person that's going to force her religious ideas on anyone. I would say the majority of religious people in this country don't do that, right? It's kind of a no-no in the U.S. You don't force your religion on anyone. You might accidentally force your religion on if you're a religious person and you say something like, "God bless you, my son," or something, right? And you're a stark anti-religious person, and you're like, "What did you say?" And it takes you aback because you're not used to that type of a reference being made. But 9 times out of 10, even you, if you are that stark atheist person, is going to realize that they're not being mean. They're being kind, and they're saying something nice to you, and you're going to be like, "Oh, thank you." Even Bill Maher, I think, is able to recognize that. So again, this just seems disingenuous to me, or it's bad humor, which I think it's bad humor. He's typically pretty funny, right? But on this one, I don't find his topic that he's using to be the best one to make humor on.
Students, keep in mind that your legal career is but a means to an end. That end is building the kingdom of God. No, it's not. That's not the point of a legal career. And you pundits earnestly debating whether she will vote to overturn Roe versus Wade, of course she will. She's been groomed since...
Alright, so I'd have to wonder when that quote was made, and who that quote was to, and why that quote was said. So, oftentimes liberals will handpick or cherry pick a quote to try to use it to paint their narrative, and I can only imagine, I haven't done the research yet, but I would love to know where that quote actually comes from and what audience was she talking to when she made that quote.
Birth to overturn Roe versus Wade. She's like the Terminator, a robot programmed to fulfill one task. Except she wasn't sent from the future, she was sent from the past. Because here's the truth about Catholics in America. There's two types, scary and not scary. The vast majority, not scary, not doctrinaire. In fact, they're famous for ignoring everything the Pope tells them not to do. They divorce, they use contraception, they have premarital sex, they have anal sex, sometimes all in one night. But there's another strain of uber-conservative Catholics who have an agenda, an enormous and growing influence to achieve it. And it's really about pining for a return to...
the uber-conservative Catholic. Right. Here's where we really start to go off into the deep end. So, some of his comments before that were comical. I will give him that. But right now, we get into the BS of the story.
The Middle Ages, when the church was the state. The Attorney General is one of these people. So is the Federalist Society, responsible for putting 5 justices on the court. The Knights of Malta and Opus Dei, whose members wear a spiked chain around their thigh all day to remind them of you-know-who. Now I know what to get Mel Gibson for Christmas. These old-school Catholics, they play the long game. Amy Barrett has been on their radar since forever because she was raised in an extremist Catholic community called People of Praise, where a husband's responsibilities included correcting his wife should she stray from the proper path.
Yeah, that seems like a strange wife to end up becoming a Supreme Court justice, doesn't it? Let's think about your monologue here, Bill Maher. You're saying a husband's responsibility is to be superior and above his wife, and that a wife should be subordinate. That's the narrative you're painting. But yet, Amy Coney Barrett is about to be appointed as a Supreme Court Justice, one of the most powerful fucking people in the entire earth. But she's somehow subordinate to her husband and subordinate to men in general. Think of the stupidity of the statement you're making right now. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, I am James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade. This is my content. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all, peace.